Let's see. Hello, folks. It's important to write when you're not distracted. Today is a distracting kind of day for me, I guess. Just you have some of those days where you just gotta accept that you're not gonna get much writing done. So, those days, thankfully, are not that common for me lately. Henry's himself. And, let's see. Henry's put his automatic to use, firing off a long volley at the enemy at the alcove. Folks, we just gotta make sure that what writing we do on the days when we're distracted is exceptional to make up for lost quantity. Quality over quantity is always best, I think, at least when it comes to writing. Though if you can do both, that's better, I guess. The long volley of the enemy at the alcove. This was off. He emptied his gun, reloaded, emptied it again. The other fellow was at the alcove. The fellows at the alcove, both with E1 SMGs of their own, returned fire and killed two of Henry's men where they stood. A grenade was tossed out by one of them blew up in the face of a few more of the escaped prisoners, sending them tumbling and writhing about the floor. One of them was dispatched by gunfire from an alcove. Another alcove. Did I mention how many alcoves are in this hallway? Or would my shootouts be without an alcove of some kind? It was then that some big metal crate was abruptly shoved into the hall through the door of the armor suit room. Wish there was a term for armor suit room. Something like armory. But, I don't think they had a specific name for such things. Well, armored suits aren't really a thing in our universe, not since the era of the Knights, so body armor is kind of the... we got body armor, but I don't think there's anybody using full body armor suits yet. Once they do that, the jihadists, they're gonna be screwed. Good luck blowing up a guy who can survive, who's walking around in power armor. Yep, a world where terrorism becomes impossible. That'd be pretty good, as long as no tyrants come to power. Because, someday terrorists might become freedom fighters. Or what do you call one man's terrorist and another man's freedom fighter? Was being pushed by two jade soldiers who were getting right in the face from effort. Evidently they didn't dump out whatever was in the crate before giving it a vigorous pushing. Gunfire found the crate immediately, but amazingly didn't punch through it. Bullets ricocheted off it and about the walls. Echoed. I've never used that in place of echoed. Yeah. The jade pushed it about 2 meters from the door and remained there in cover. After catching their breath, they leaned out with assault rifles and fired off a few bursts. Then they tossed some grenades out from their cover, which wounded some prisoners. Didn't kill anybody. A minute later, A minute later, the Jade. What's his name? Henry's. Yep, Henry. Not Henry. Henry noticed this two. One of the men, Jade in the alcove, clutching at his bloodied shoulder. Right shoulder. He had caught a bit of shrapnel. Not enough to kill, naturally. Do the beds, yeah. It's difficult to change the sheet in my bed because it's right against the wall. It's very annoyingly difficult to change a bed when one side of it is right against the wall. That's why in hotels I don't think they ever have it like against a side wall, because I mean I like being against the wall, but when it comes time to change the sheets and stuff, that's a bit annoying. Is it time to change the sheets yet? Not for me, apparently. Some people change their sheets every week. That must be quite a household to live in. Let's see. Be back, folks. I have to get someone his coffee. Sorry if you folks heard someone else talking, but fuck it, I'm not gonna restart. I might have said something that might be useful to some writer someday. Earlier. Not enough to kill it, naturally. Let's see. That fellow decided to try firing his SMG one-handed, not having with his uninjured arm. Not have too much luck. With a return volley, Henry's managed to knock that fellow into the open with a reply volley, and the guy fell to his knees and collapsed in the open. Fell to his knees in the open. Some volleys from Henry's comrades took those fellas down. Took that fellow in the chest, and he dropped backwards. Dead. Henry's. Eat at Henry's. Henry's didn't know. Henry's, what the heck was I thinking? Damn, lost my train of thought. I brought back dead. Henry, suppose it was a fairly dignified pose. But like he fell bonelessly to the floor like some guys when they got shot. It was in that madness. They seemed to possess three of Henry's comrades, all fellows with bolt-action rifles. Bolt-action rifles. Yeah, you gotta put a hyphen in there, I'm pretty sure, folks. Henry's fired. They were charging for the metal crate. Like there was nobody else shooting in the hallway. Like the alcoves. Those had been cleared out. They weren't. Plot twist. The trio came under fire from the fellows at the crate. One prisoner shot grazed one of the crate dwellers bloodily about the face, but it didn't keep him from returning fire and mowing down two of the charging prisoners, who pitched forward, laying limp on their faces. This lone survivor, the third fellow, didn't last long, getting hit by a few dozen bullets minimum, jerking about, groaning, managing a yell, despite a chest loaded with bullet wounds. Then he fell backwards on his back. Another prisoner, a more cautious fellow. Don't just charge them, idiots, Henry's barked. Stay in cover, you bunch of lunatics. Right. I agreed. Some prisoner then leaned out, rifle raised, out from good cover, rifle raised, and took a volley of SMG fire across the forehead. He dropped his rifle and slumps back into cover. And slumped back against the nearby wall. And slid down it. Expression blank like a doll's. Let's see. Somebody goes to the store, they should pick me up some ground beef so I can make tacos during the blackout. If we do have a blackout, we could lose power for a week, folks. That'd be suck. All because of these stupid trees. Too many trees around here. Not enough trees everywhere else in the country, but we got too many trees apparently because they all fall down when the weather gets bad. It caused the trees getting snow on them while they still have leaves. It caused them to become too heavy and the branches snap off. Killed the power lines around here, so we were out of power for like over a week, I think. That was frickin' fun. That was the best birthday ever. Henry's then made some progress when he unloaded his SMG into the alcove again. To one of the alcoves. And some SMG welding jade tumbled lifelessly into the open, managing a final pitiful moan as he laid there on the ground. Henry's decided then was a good time to offer the enemy a chance to surrender. Give up and we'll spare you. Damn, I almost spelled that correctly. Give up and we'll spare you. Henry's yelled. Just come on out. With your hands up. The jade did not surrender. One of the jade at the crate replied, especially the prisoners. Men who are prisoners. Are we prisoners if we've escaped? Henry's thought. I'm giving you folks the count of three. Count of three. Then I'm going to let you have it. then there will be no mercy. Henry's yell. I'm not trying to be clunky. I'm trying to be realistic here with the dialogue. But not with all the ums and uhs and ahs that people use, mostly. People have perfect diction in fiction, in case you didn't notice. Rarely do they stutter or trip over their words, or make some kind of weird Freudian slip. It's, if they stutter, it's actually a plot point, you know? Like that character in the Stephen King's It. Don't remember him stuttering that much in the books, because I don't think he did. There wasn't as much dialogue in that book as usual for Stephen King books, I don't think. And when the character was talking more, it was because it was when he was adult and he was not a stutterer anymore. Anyway. It's been a while since I read that book, but it still sticks to me. Let's see. There will be no mercy. Save your breath. The Jade retorted. The same Jade from earlier. Earlier retorted. We're not giving up. You can give up if you want, and we will show mercy. See to you. Really? Henry's asked. The Jay didn't continue. They didn't continue to chat. The chat. Instead. Did they say it in English? Yeah, English. Note earlier. Because he's English. Because they're talking English, not Jade. I think the amount of people that speak Jade in this world is pretty much limited to just the Jade because of their isolation. It's like, in World War II, how many foreigners spoke Japanese? Probably not that many. The Jade didn't continue to chat. Instead, opening up vigorously with their SMGs. Various weapons. Henry's and others returned fire, directing their shots at the guys with the assault rifles in the other alcove. One was leaning out to toss a grenade when gunfire caught him and sent him flying backwards, head over heels. He rolled more after the grenade went off and sent him. It also killed his fellow rifleman. And the guy collapsed into the open, managing to writhe briefly before laying still. He was covered in shrapnel, looking like somebody who had been cut to ribbons and was getting thrown through a big piece of glass. Enemy behind us. Behind us. Someone yelled. Two Jade with SMGs appeared in the corridor adjacent to the armor suit corridor. They could have done a lot of damage, but a bunch of guys turned around and opened up. At least 30 rounds. Rounds caught each him in the chest. One managed to empty his SMG. He collapsed to his knees. There on his face. Some other guys went to check around that corner. Went to the corner. Making sure more weren't coming. Last thing we want is to get boxed in. Henry's muttered, reloading his FMD. Those two guys who came from behind was a very bad sign. It meant the area that Henry's and his comrades came from was not secured. I should have the escapees at this point should have more of the prison secured, not less. Focus on the task at hand. Boy, Henry told himself. The enemy at the crate went next. One with the bloody face took 2 rounds, rifle rounds through the right shoulder to Mir from the door. Open doorway now. 2 rounds to the right shoulder and went tumbling into the open before he could roll back to cover. He took another 10 or so shots and slumped dead. The other rifleman at the crate then stood, carrying his assault rifle on the hip. He got off 15 rounds, then took a burst across the chest and immediately lurched forward, slumping dead over a crate, atop the crate. He caught a few more rounds. His men moved up. Secure the armory. Armor room. Henry's yelled, even though he was in the lead among the men. It was then that 3 Jade armor suits stepped into the open, drum mags on their E1 SMGs, which they were aiming from the hip. In an instant, Henry knew he had made a terrible mistake. Also, Henry knew that he was about to die. Fall back, Henry's yelled defiantly. Will Henry's die? Yep, he'll die. See you later, folks. Have a nice day.